I like my women the old-fashioned way, without the penis.
And with that, welcome to the Sofa Kingdom podcast with your hosts, Nelson,
Ian.
Ed.
and one person that can't hear shit.
Yeah, and the guy without the audio.
We might have to
Matt.
start this over again just for Matt. Eddie, can
we
you
don't.
fix him on the fly?
We don't have to fix
We are having technical difficulties.
That's what we do.
Chances are he unplugged his own headset, or Eddie did at some point in time. Can you hear us?
This is what the Sofa Kingdom
Still no.
podcast is
I don't
about.
have anything.
We're all about those technical difficulties.
I can
Eddie's
hear you
taking-
this way, though.
Eddie's fixing
we can hear you.
himself. Yeah, we
Your
can
mic-
definitely hear
your
you.
I can be
microphone is
au
working.
natural.
Your microphone's working.
I can raw dog it.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Raw dogging is.
He's over there.
Oh, there. Oh, yeah.
oh,
Yep.
what?
It's
We have sound?
little. Now it's back out. Oh, then I hear me a little bit. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There you
all
go.
right. We're in. We're in.
Nobody move.
That wire needs to be replaced also.
After a while, like
Yeah,
the
there you
audio
go.
wires
Spend
themselves.
the whole podcast like that.
Are you good?
Yes.
All right, good.
All right,
After so introduce yourself.
Matt.
For those who haven't, for those who haven't seen the other 3 episodes,
Yes.
2, 3, 4, 5 episodes you've been on.
Spooky time, Matt. He's in the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, actually, Matt and me were wearing matching outfits.
What?
He walked through the door. We were both wearing camouflage outfits, you know, and I looked at myself and I said, I have to go change.
And I looked and I was like, no one answered the door. And he turned and said, no one's at the door.
Then I shut it.
2 John Cena's still.
Yeah.
You
No.
can't see me.
I seen the second episode of Invasion.
What the fuck's Invasion? Oh, it's right. That Samuel L. Jackson show.
Yeah.
I don't pay for Disney Plus anymore. so I
Ian
have
forgot
not seen it.
already.
Yeah,
I have not
he-
seen it.
Excellent so far. I won't go into any spoilers because you haven't seen it yet,
You're
but
not getting my
it's
money,
still
Disney.
definitely worth the watch.
None of my
You're
money.
not getting my children, Disney.
Can't have them.
You can't have them.
My children are what they are at birth.
So this episode, we're going to
Can't
talk about
change them,
nothing
Mickey.
but golf.
Yeah.
Take
there
it
you
away,
go.
Matt.
Oh man.
So
what is going
That
on?
was great. Thanks. All right.
I know what.
Ricky
Actually,
Fowler came through to win a thrilling event at the Rocket Mortgage this weekend.
did he actually?
And he was, yeah, he did. And
wow.
and he looked up at the clouds at Chubbs and Abe Lincoln and
Actually,
then Alligator.
yeah, you sent that. You sent that to me. You sent that. That actually was pretty cool.
That was
Well,
great.
if you take away, like, for instance, mini golf, if you take away all the odd, obvious obstacles that aren't in actual golf, how close to simulating putting is that really? It seems pretty close.
Well, there are courses that in fact, Tiger Woods has designed a bunch. He has got a new business called Popstroke, where it's a legitimate course.
Sounds dirty.
Sounds
Well,
sultry.
so you go there and it's instead of like a windmill or something, it's like bunkers and curves and and undulation. So it's more
Interesting.
like a real golf course. There's always been a wide range of mini golf options available.
Yes,
right
I recently played mini golf. When I
you
was
won't see
out
Lee
in,
Trevino at any of them going.
Pennsylvania. It was a good time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was like 6 or 7 of us all playing.
Yeah, it was good in the 60s.
Yeah.
So
Listen,
let's go bowling.
I'm not-
You guys want to go bowling?
I'm not built for golf. I'm not built for golf.
I love bowling also, so don't even.
Who wants to play Parcheesi? Anybody down for
Hey,
some
my eyesight sucks,
Parcheesi?
but I promise I can drink and drive the golf cart with the best of them.
But in
Thanks,
the
Dad.
same sense, I will say, you know, like how you guys have been really inclusive with like the jujitsu stuff and teaching me. You never talk down to me.
Yeah.
And you start at basics, but I never feel like you're patting me on the head.
No, golf's fucking hard.
Well, but
I can't do
but
that. I can't hit it.
on the opposite side, a lot of times people will want to talk to me about golf or they will already have started and they go, well, you teach at an academy and you must, you don't play the same kind of golf I do where you
Right.
play music and you drink and stuff like that. I go, that's exactly the kind of golf I play. There's a bell
Trying to have a
curve
good
that,
time.
well, that when you start out, you want it to be fun. You don't have to play a tournament. Whatever golf is, whatever you want to make it.
Right.
If you want to go out there, hit a few shots, pick up your ball, and move on, and just chat with your friends, great. As long as you're having a good time. It's the middle ground where guys start really getting addicted, play a lot, and then they look at the PGA Tour for an example that they go, oh, I got to take this seriously, and they start dressing up and don't talk while I'm hitting and all that kind of stuff. But you got to remember, guys like me who played in college and then played the mini tours professionally and tried to make the PGA Tour, just didn't make it because bigger, athletic, more guys, came in. It's a tough sport to make it in.
Right.
So I'm proud of where I got. But my point is, I've done my suited up golf.
Right.
I've done my. If you look at the top players on their day off, they wear shorts. They play music. They play quick. They, which is more like beginner golf if you want to think of it. So
But it kind of went back to the grassroots.
And that's why I say I have no problem if you guys ever wanted to come out and play a casual round for fun. And I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, no, by the rules, you're not supposed to do that. I'm going to go do whatever the fuck you want as long as it doesn't affect the groups around us.
Sure.
Do whatever you want.
I would
I
honestly
can't
try.
guarantee where the fuck my ball's going to go.
So what? Guess what? Ian, here's another one. Hit it again.
All right. Okay.
I
just,
I have a suspicion everyone starts at being terrible.
Okay, well,
everyone does.
all right. Well, that's where I'm at. Well, that's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's kind of like what you said. Like, if you watch high level IBJJF World Championship Jiu-Jitsu, that's not the jiu-jitsu we do.
Oh no, it's not.
If you watch us roll with each other, it's kind of like a mixture of WWE and some jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's like
prime example is like when you watch a video at home and you're like, I'm gonna do that move at the academy.
Yeah.
And then you go there and halfway through you can't even remember how to start it, finish it, set it up, and you get some muddled up version of what you were trying to do from a video. But
don't get me wrong. I mean,
it's fun.
Like, I try to do things right. Like, I'll try to pass correctly, pressure and all that. But if I can go for the Boston Crab,
you're gonna do it.
I'm gonna try to hit the Boston Crab one.
Goddamn right.
Because if I can hit it, that's like a badge of honor for me.
And if you can hit it in a cape.
Did you see the video of what happened just recently?
The table?
Yes.
Holy shit. Matt saw it.
You knew exactly what I was talking about.
Have you seen this?
The video.
Have you
That's
seen
all
this
you
video?
do.
Matt, have you seen this?
Just now. He
Oh
shared
my
it.
It
God.
doesn't happen often, Matt. That's why it's a significant
Instant
video.
fucking DQ.
Right, but do you think
Well,
they
they were
banned him
talking
for
about
life?
ban.
Oh my God.
They gotta ban him, right?
No,
You would think so.
Just DQ. Just DQ. Just DQ for that competition.
He power bombed somebody through a table. There has to be repercussions.
My ex-girlfriend's brother, Kevin, owns Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Ocean City. And he literally said, if this kid comes to his school, he's like, I will give you a stripe. He's like, I will fucking promote you a stripe if you come to my school. He's like, just walk in the door, I'll promote you a stripe.
There's two ways to look at it. One, was it a dick thing to do? Absolutely. Because he didn't just pick him up.
It had to
He
have
walked
been-
him to the table.
It had to have been free planned.
But number
My
two,
God.
the person putting on the triangle, if you let them pick you up and fucking walk you across an arena, you're an idiot.
Hold on a second.
You're
To
a
be
fucking
fair,
idiot.
To be fair, nobody's gonna anticipate being slammed through
No
a table
fucking-
when there's mats everywhere.
When you start getting
Anticipate 5 feet away. That's like the Austin Powers videos. No, just move
Slow
on.
motion.
No.
Yeah.
As soon as he's picking him off the mat, he should either abandon the position or scoop the leg.
Yeah.
So he failed
Sweep
to
the leg,
maintain
Johnny.
that triangle properly. He allowed himself to get picked up, at which point you're going to get slammed.
So you're siding with the guy that slammed him through the
Absolutely.
table. You guys suck.
Listen,
I would ask what belts were they?
that's bad jiu-jitsu.
I would say
If that's a schoolyard,
you're-
that's bad jiu-jitsu.
I would
Brought
say-
up, they might have been
Yeah,
friends.
I would say if you're a
I thought it was
purple,
planned.
if you're a purple belt and you allow them to pick you up, you deserve to get slammed. You fucked up. White
Not
and
through
blue.
a table.
Listen,
Not through a table.
white and blue.
Not through a fucking table, bro.
No, you fucked up extra.
All right.
Extra. Because
So-
you held on while he walked
Listen,
you across the
listen.
fucking arena
With the same
and got
respect-
slammed
Oh
through
my
a table.
God.
You're the asshole
with
as
the
much
same
as he
You need a
is.
half
Jim
dead
Ross?
face. Oh my God.
Oh my God, he's through a table.
So what? Can he be power bombed into the referee? Is that legal now?
If you're holding on a move and you allow them to pick you up, you failed at your position.
You're the same guy who thinks that being choked with their belt is legal, aren't you?
Hey,
Also,
Hey,
he's not able to be picked
legal.
up.
It
so
is. It is legal.
it's too big.
the mafia choke.
But still a dick move.
The mafia choke.
I'm not saying it's not a dick
Columbia
move,
necktie.
but honestly, they both fucked up. He shouldn't have slammed him,
Fair.
but the other guy should never have allowed himself to lose position to the point where he gets picked up and walked 20 feet to a table.
That's what I'm saying. If you allow yourself to get picked up, not saying that I'm not advocating for the fucking, for the
Table slam?
the Kevin Nash power
Yeah.
bomb on the table.
The
I'm not
NWO?
I'm not advocating for that. But if you're doing jiu-jitsu, if you're supposed to be doing jiu-jitsu, you're supposed to be good at jiu-jitsu, and you allow someone to pick you up, that's bad jiu-jitsu.
you lost control of your position.
If that happens to you in a bar fight, you're fucked, my friend.
if
you're
Yeah,
fucked.
yeah,
if the
yeah,
point
yeah.
Because
system,
you're going through a table, a bar stool, the counter, whatever the fuck that man chooses to do.
if
with
the
you.
point system is supposed to be about control, if they can pick you up, You didn't have control.
You're not controlling nothing.
The same thing.
They're like, oh, he won. Oh, he's disqualified.
I feel the same way when they do that spider monkey bullshit and you're not allowed to slam them, but they're hanging off your body and you're supposed to just stand there and take it.
I never.
In a real fight, you're spiking them on their fucking head.
True.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, since you're on the mat training at a competition, you wouldn't be expected to be slammed on your head because it is a competition.
Yeah.
Therefore, you
but-
should not be expected to be power bombed through a fucking table.
If you still,
I agree with the DQ. I agree with
If
Okay.
you want jujitsu to remain pure, then positions like that shouldn't be allowed. If you get picked up, you failed. If someone's hanging on you and you're above a purple belt, you're doing a bad thing. You should be able to be slammed.
But how about the
It's a
people
bad position that you're taking deliberately. That
No,
you're using.
listen.
You're bending the rules
There
to
are
take
people that
advantage of a
complete
position
chokes
that does
while
not
being
work
in
in
the
real
standing
life.
holding position, right? How many people complete chokes and knock people out?
There should be 2 beer bottles in the center of the ring too.
yeah,
at any point.
yeah, come on, man.
Wait, what was the game that you had us play? The Justice League.
The Justice League.
Use all
We
the
played before
surroundings.
Ian got here.
Oh, you mean the fucking Superman emulator?
Yeah.
Fuck out of here. Pick
listen.
Superman and win.
He grabbed a guy off a bar stool and hit me in the face with him. That was there was nothing more Milwaukee than that. I was like, I've seen this before. I've been hit by that very guy.
The reality is they're trying to keep it pure. It's supposed to be about maintaining dominance in your position. People using certain maneuvers
all about
that bend the rules
Yeah.
because it's allowed doesn't hold up to maintaining the integrity of the sport. If you're crawling all over the person while they're standing, you're not maintaining the integrity of the sport. You're being a dick.
So,
and you're being a
the
dick
integrity of
because
sport is upheld
it
when
so
you slam
happens to
somebody
be-
through a table. Is that what you're saying? Is
No.
that what you're fucking
But what
arguing?
upholds it is
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
his teacher taught him to scoop the fucking leg and don't get picked up.
It's gay.
I'm sorry.
Pride Month
Same
is
thing
over,
like
right?
if I'm in your
It's over. Yeah,
same thing like if
Not-
I'm
not-
in your
not the good
guard
kind.
and you allow me to do a double hand, bullshit choke. Hey, you're the fucking idiot that allowed me. Use your legs, push me off.
That's true.
I'm sorry.
It's still not being slammed through
It's a
table.
dick
It's
move,
totally
but the
different.
dude on the bottom
Listen,
also fucked
I'm
up.
fine with the DQ. I'm fine with it. It still doesn't change the fact that it's hilarious and effective.
It is hilarious. It's amazing.
And
That's
I'm just-
hilarious.
that
I'm
table
just
folded
witnessing
perfectly.
a brother just trolling you right now. I'm like, Ed, you made a great point.
Yeah,
He's
good.
just fucking with you right now.
So anyway, if you haven't
They'll
clicked on this,
realize it 20 minutes later.
if you haven't seen this video,
Could this,
check it out.
Could
Please
this
check it out.
possibly be? Is this like a Dana White thing where it's like, is this the merging of proper fighting with the?
Yeah, now they're gonna start allowing
Was that
slaps and power
was that a
bombs.
promo video that we watched? Did
Yes.
we just fall for it like the Grimace thing?
Absolutely. Speaking of the Grimace thing, the
man.
Grimace thing is great. It's hilarious.
It is. I love social media.
McDonald's they were putting out comments like, we couldn't anticipate this. We couldn't control this.
But thank you.
If anything,
is what they
McDonald's
said.
should just shut up and let it happen.
Let
How
it
many
happen.
people
Oh, yeah.
are going in there to buy the shake, to do their version of the
I
video?
may get one on my way.
I would say
Okay.
every Halloween, put out the Grimace shake.
Yeah.
I mean, who is the
There you
victim
go.
here? The fucking workers at McDonald's who are cleaning up purple shit all over the floor because you got these stupid teenagers TikToking.
Tic-tacking.
I don't know. Some of them were
Tic-tagging.
pretty funny. Some of them were
Well, they're
pretty
very-
good.
yeah, they're funny.
I mean, some people
Well, I won't
like.
be able to make a video because I will never download TikTok. So there's that. There's that.
But you can still do the Grimace shake.
I got enough things following me on my phone and
Yeah,
looking at
I got
where
enough
I'm going.
Chinese
Yeah.
fucking spy apps that I don't need TikTok.
What was the thing that you just mentioned the other day? Or you just said it. You mentioned it and it just popped up right on your phone.
Oh God, no! The Grimace thing they were talking
Yes.
about. I didn't see a shake video though. I saw like a purple butt plug with Grimace's face.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
That
that's
goes to tell you the
disturbing
things.
enough.
That goes to tell you the things I fucking think.
They're like, we will find a combination of these.
Somehow
things.
Grimace made it on my fucking. He made it on my phone. Just in a
They're
different
like,
form.
we're gonna make you grimace.
Okay, so look, this kind of ties into one of the things I did want to discuss on a little bit more serious.
Wait, butt plugs?
level.
Or,
No,
Okay, all right.
no, where
Big purple butt plugs.
where when you
Yeah.
create
Big purple
something,
butt plugs.
when you create something like in artistry, right? And they say like when you make a song and you put it out, it no longer belongs to you.
Like Mr. Brightside.
Are you about
Yeah,
to? Yeah,
it-
you about to
it
fucking.
belongs-
Are you about to post? You about to try to push your rap album, sir?
No.
I liked it.
I don't have to.
Yeah, no, it's actually good stuff.
Thank you, I appreciate
it
it.
was.
It speaks for itself.
No, what I'm talking about is like a couple of things when it comes to artistry, like when you have like the Bill Cosbys, the R. Kellys of the world.
You just named two people that we should not associate anything with, sir.
No,
Well,
right.
who next? Michael
But,
Jackson? What's next? Who's next?
They were a part of your childhood on one way or another, right?
They're part of a lot of people's childhood.
You've
Separating the-
listened to an R. Kelly song.
Separate the art from the
You've
artist?
Seen
Is
Bill
that where you-
Cosby.
is that where you're going?
You've seen Ghost Dad, right? And you got to separate the artist. from the artwork, right? Now, me personally, there are some things that are just so horrendous. Like a Bill Cosby and an R. Kelly, where you can't go back and watch it, or you can't go back and listen to it, because what they did was just
R. Kelly had some bangers.
So horrendous.
He had some bangers. He
But
just, you know.
Trapped in the Closet was one of the best comedies ever created.
But not only that, like, okay,
It
you
was
can't
a
tell
midget,
me
a
when I
midget,
Believe I Can Fly.
That comedy was
When I
amazing.
Believe I Can Fly comes on, you're not going to sing along a little bit?
You will.
Right?
You will. You just got to try not to think about him peeing on underage girls' faces.
Oh,
You have to try to
Fucking
not think about it.
No,
R.
and they're,
Kelly sucks.
and they're horrible.
Just like
horrible
Michael
people.
Jackson. I love
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. Michael
Yes,
Jackson's
Michael
the king of
Jackson was
pop.
good.
Love
Yeah.
him. I don't want to think about him diddling kids
Yeah.
on the Neverland
But-
Ranch. I don't want that,
Yeah.
but it's going to always be there.
Right, and that's the thing, right? There's that extra connotation where it's like the artist was so great that people are willing to deny he did something, whether he did or didn't, right? They're
Well,
willing to
I
deny it
I believe
because they
Michael did
love
it.
what he did so much.
It's like people
Right?
love Elvis. People love Elvis, and they want to believe he waited for Priscilla to be
But we're
18.
also talking about
I don't believe it,
that.
but
Yeah.
But then it becomes bigger than the artist, because then it's a business at that point.
Yeah.
And you have multiple people, including lawyers, who are all involved in making money with that.
Right.
And therefore, what you even saw was just what they allowed you to see because.
Correct.
So that's the problem, is we're that iceberg, the Titanic.
It's also
it's that
become
fine
it's just
line.
it's also become a business of victimhood,
Right.
Where you could sue, and if the person's worth enough money, and
They pay
they
you
don't
off.
and they don't want the heat, they can pay you off and write it off.
Right.
So, like for instance,
Michael Jackson.
we've seen the things
Right.
with R. Kelly, so we know what happened. We know the things that happened with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. Well, Bill Clinton as well, but
Yeah.
Bill Cosby.
Right.
We got so many people. But then you
Clinton just got
have
a little
How
heavy.
bad is this
Even-
world that you
Now-
mistakenly said another name and it also had a major
yeah,
consequence?
seriously.
Even the comedian, what's his name, the Louis guy.
Louis C.K.
Louis
Louis
C.K.
C.K.,
Where he
right?
asked for consent, but some people
Yeah.
were saying they're too
Louis
scared
C.K.
to give consent.
Louis C.K. wasn't too bad there. He was just jerking off in
But
front of people.
when you look at-
I mean, I guess it depends on where you were in the room when he was doing that.
When
were
you
you
look at
directly below him? I mean, yeah, that sucks. But
when you look at some of the stuff with Michael Jackson, part of the problem that comes up is you have people who say it never happened, people that say it did happen.
Right.
You have people that he paid off, but you also have his testimony that was said at other points in time where he regretted the thing he regretted most in life was not taking them to court to prove his innocence and paying them off.
Right.
And that allows other people to then come and sue.
Right.
And there's a level of plausibility because people were paid
Right,
off.
but that's where, like
Michael
Matt was
Jackson
saying,
definitely did it.
Yeah.
it
He
becomes a
definitely did it.
machine. There's a machine
Yeah.
there that's protecting, and
So
it's
now you have
He just climbing
multiple
trees.
people giving you advice, what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say.
now you have the guy that's playing Kang.
yeah.
Evidence came out that was exonerating him, and then all of a sudden, a dozen new people came out accusing him of things.
Right.
So it's like, well,
gonna
here's all
happen.
this evidence that now proved he was innocent. Now here's people saying, no, he's guilty. Here's this other stuff, and it becomes a back and forth of like,
Here's a
It's
question.
hearsay. It's hearsay
It
until
is.
proven guilty.
Here's a
Right?
question. Here's a question.
Yeah.
How much money to let R. Kelly wee on you?
There is no amount of money.
Hold on.
I'll
sir.
tell you exactly
I
how
would
much, because I
accept
was there.
for something like that.
Hold on, sir.
$0.
You would. There's no
Never.
amount of money.
None. No amount of money.
you're in a sterile.
Yeah,
I can take some money.
$1 million. R. Kelly can pee in my mouth.
I want to say in my mouth.
I mean,
He
the
upped
answer
the
is
he
still-
upped the stakes
Oh,
on himself.
Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kelly, please, sir.
Poor Matt is like, what did I get
I'll
myself
talk.
into?
Let me talk. Hey, let me. Wait.
I work at a
wanted-
respectable golf course.
Listen.
Why am I here?
$1 million cash.
I didn't take the money.
$1 million cash. I'm talking the fucking Bivin. All right.
No,
God.
I want no parts of it.
Oh my God, guys.
I'm good.
I have
good.
bills, guys.
Eddie, too?
I've
$1
seen
million?
what people do for a Klondike bar.
Let alone $1 million cash.
Oh, no. Okay, all right. I no, there's no amount of money.
No amount of money. None.
None.
$10 million.
No,
$100 fucking million.
I'm good.
Like a shot.
I will die with dignity.
Yeah,
No, you
and
won't.
there's something to that as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I mean, you would never live that down. You'd hear that anywhere you go.
You have to sleep
Yeah.
with yourself at night
That's true.
thinking, oh, yeah.
If I took the bribe, I would pay a bunch of goons to beat you up and pee on you.
Wow.
That sounds like the beginning of John Wick 5.
Every person that runs their mouth you always walk around with like 5 big goons. You're like, him.
Hold him down and piss on him.
Oh my god.
And they're all dehydrated. It's like bright yellow piss.
It's just not happening. You look, there was an episode of a show called Atlanta. Have you guys seen this at all?
Atlanta.
So
wait a minute, like the Atlanta,
the show
Georgia?
called Atlanta. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah,
the
I missed
whole
that.
episode was this lady. Her job was to travel to different parts of the
right
country to pee on people.
Sure.
And so she would like drink Gatorade and water all day long. Go to somebody's
Thank you,
apartment.
sir.
They would pay for her whole trip, and she would pee on them for a price.
Well, hey, man.
So for some people, they
It's a
would
market.
probably
The
do it for
reality
free. They
is-
would-
It's a market. There's a
That-
market for it.
That is a thing.
yeah.
That does happen. Sure, sir. Thank you. And you do actually see a lot of it happens out of the Instagram and OnlyFans accounts where you find like, well, they're in some rather fancy planes going to some rather fancy countries.
Yeah, to do
I
some pretty
wonder
crazy
how they
shit.
afforded to
Yeah.
go hang out with the prince.
Yeah.
She sucked
okay,
a dick.
No, that's
So
Yeah.
on another
That's
how it
note,
happened.
is anywhere they have checked in and taken a picture.
yeah,
They're there for that.
they're there for a
That's
reason.
sad.
So on another note, right?
Someone's meat got basted.
Yeah, when it comes to artistry,
For a lot
right?
less than $1 million.
A lot less.
You got guys like Rob Zombie, right? Do you guys actually believe
careful how you speak
he
about
is
Rob.
a serial killer? No, he can't make a comedy to save his life.
Oh,
Hence
the Monsters. The Monsters, one of the
Trash.
worst films I've seen in the
Trash.
last 10 years.
Oh, you
But-
actually? Oh,
but
I
do you
downloaded
believe-
it to watch it on a plane.
I fucking watched it for you guys. I watched it to
I wouldn't
save
force
you
you
all.
to do that. That's like
Yeah.
this
I,
R. Kelly
I
thing.
nailed myself to the
I
cross.
downloaded it to watch it on a plane, and I chose to not watch it.
Yeah.
Still.
It was
Good.
a pile of shit, and it was it was. I would say it's Rob Zombie's worst movie,
Right.
and worse than Lords of Salem is saying something.
Right.
It's
That's
But
a.
do you-
I love Rob
I mean,
Zombie.
his worst
and I
movie.
will- yeah.
That's a high bar to get over for worst movie for him. I mean,
I
he's
will be,
really.
I will be seeing him when he comes in August.
So-
here
or
to
should,
West
or should it
Palm.
be a low
Oh,
bar
what?
to get
Yeah.
under?
Yeah, yeah.
With Alice Cooper.
Which metaphor should we use?
I played golf with Alice Cooper.
Well,
Did you?
mentioned
Yeah,
that,
I got to
yeah.
contact him. Yeah.
All right, yeah.
I went to a show
See
the
if you
night
can get
before.
some VIP tickets.
I'll send you the picture. I went to a show the night before because he's a big golfer.
Right.
He's playing with Rob Zombie.
That's
and
pretty
then
cool.
and then we went to the show, went backstage, met him, and he goes, yeah, I'm playing out at Champions Gate tomorrow. I had a metalhead who was my boss,
Right.
at the golf academy at David Ledbetter Golf Academy. His name was Darren, and
Shout out.
he goes, yeah, he was one of the best bosses I ever had because he's the kind of guy who would never ask you to do something he wouldn't do.
Right.
And we also shared like a love for heavy metal. Well, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna play tomorrow morning, then I'm gonna leave town. And he's like, I'm playing at your golf course at Champions Gate, and I was like, oh, cool. And he turned to me and my best friend who worked with me at the academy, and he goes, hey, you guys want to play? And my buddy Nate, he goes, yeah. and he goes, yeah, how about you? And I'm like, I have to work, I have to open. And go figure, Darren turns to me, I never forget, he put his hand on my shoulder, he goes, we'll find someone to cover for you. And he goes,
awesome.
you're gonna golf.
That's awesome.
And it was one of the best rounds of golf I ever played.
Sure.
He had so many stories. I played from every single shot. We would be on the tee and he'd be telling a story, and we would all hit our shots, and we would hop in the cart and he would stop mid-sentence and we would race to our balls, and I just wanted to hear the end of the story.
Yeah.
How he would he even talked about the scene in Wayne's World where that was all ad-libbed, where Milwaukee, I'm from Milwaukee, so,
Right.
or just outside. So that was all his add, and he knew that, where it's Algonquin for the good land.
Yeah.
Like he just added that in.
That's pretty
He
cool.
was
Fucking nuts.
he was a mentor for Vince Neil, where, after he got sober and tried to help him out, and he's like, he hit rock bottom like multiple times, and he's like, well, I would highly recommend, this is now the end of your third marriage, you should probably stop marrying strippers because that girl is gonna go and dance
Right.
naked for other men,
Right.
and that's gonna lead to problems.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
most fascinating part about that round was he mentioned like the origins of Alice, where the whole time he would talk about Alice in the third person,
Right.
and he said he had to
Kind of like a Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie type of thing.
he said he said he had to, because if you've ever seen an Alice Cooper show, it's a theatric murder horror show.
So
with
it's like Rob Zombie.
right, correct,
It's a
and
whole
that's what
experience.
which
It's
is
a
why
character. It's a
which is
character.
why that's going to
Yeah.
be an epic
Big
show.
I'm going to that.
So, but he goes, he was getting into drugs, alcohol, and he was starting to become very mean and short. And he said, I found I was becoming Alice.
Right.
And he goes, Alice doesn't get on stage because they played with Black Sabbath with Ronnie James Dio. Oof. That was the night before.
Oh my God.
So I got to see that. That was pretty cool. So Dio was on stage, but he referenced it. He goes, like last night, and he goes, I love Dio. We're friends from way back, but I never understood. He's like, they'd finish, and I'll see you in hell. Hey, and then he turned into Frank Sinatra. Hey, thank you very much. How you guys doing tonight? Blah, blah, blah. He goes, Alice doesn't address the crowd. Alice wants to murder the crowd. Alice wants everyone dead and is the sickest individual you've ever met. Damn. And he's like, he goes, I was becoming this person, this evil individual, and so he had to learn to separate it, and golf saved his life because he said I had to find some hobby that would get me away from, hey, you do a concert and it happens in every city. Great job, Alex. Oh, good to see you. We got this after party you want to come to, and it seems innocent. Then you show up and there's drugs and there's alcohol and there's women and blah, blah. Yeah. And before you know it, and he goes, golf gave me a reason to at 11 p.m. when the show's over, meet and greet like we are. And then I will walk away, and because I want to be fresh so I can play golf in the morning.
7 a.m. tea time. Got to be awake.
And so he goes, so golf saved his life. And I was part of that cycle. Right. We went to the show, and he asked us, So I got a picture of Alice, and I got, out of all my friends, everyone got this picture. I don't know why he decided to do it to me, but he goes, he put his arm around, like everyone is kind of like this. For some reason, my picture, he grabbed my neck and choked me and went, gave it one of these. And I still have that picture, so he kind of turned into Alice for that picture. And then I have a picture on the 18th tee at 18th green the next day. And the funny thing about sports, like when you talk about, like, it was interesting when you said you're like thinking your way through using a move. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm working my way through this. My instant thought as a coach was, well, you got to try it. You got to fail. You got to be in the thinking part of your mind. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the different parts of your mind and the different functions. Like, you guys may remember this, actually. Do you remember an episode of Batman where he figures out that he's in the Scarecrow's dream world because he can't read?
Is this the animated series?
The animated series.
I think I do remember this.
Okay, so that's true. So 90% of people cannot read in dreams. Yeah. A different part of your brain is functioning when you're reading versus dreaming.
Looking in mirrors apparently is a bad thing when you're in a dream. You can't see reflection properly.
Oh, I never heard that.
I remember that.
Or another example of the different parts. If someone's enraged and is we're getting into golf psychology now. Yeah, no, it's actually athletic psychology.
Yeah, it is.
So
it's a natural progression from Alice Cooper to golf psychology.
Well, no. So this is what's funny, because I'll kind of get back to that. Is or like if someone is enraged and hyper emotional and like kind of irrational, you've heard this before. Like, calm down, count to 10.
Right.
If you really do focus on the numbers, the counting will calm you because it's a different part of your brain that you're using. Mm-hmm. For that reason, the cognitive conscious part of your brain is different than the fluid motion athletic part. Yeah. And for that reason, you trying that move, you're thinking about it, you're not going to perform. Right. Like if you look at that wastebasket and you're like, I'm going to make this pay. Okay, I just bend my arm and no, if you just look at the target and just throw it.
Because that's why we drill in jujitsu.
Correct.
We'll do a move 100 times.
My point was you failed.
Right.
But I go, just do it again.
Right.
Just do it again, and it will slide into that part. Right. So oddly enough, I remember this number may not mean much to you as because you guys don't know golf, but I tapped in and didn't realize I shot like 567, which is like a good professional score.
Right.
All I was doing was listening to rock stories the whole time.
You weren't paying attention.
No, wasn't paying attention. I was like, fairway hit shot. It was secondary. I was listening to him. I even told him, I'm like, you can just keep talking while I'm hitting. I want to hear the story. So I'd hit a shot and he's talking. We hop in the cart and go. And that's where, like, oddly enough, it was just like it went. Yeah, exactly where I wanted to. There's a level of
when that's where drilling comes in. Drilling, you're doing it consciously thinking of the steps, so that eventually when you're going live, you're not having to think of the steps.
Correct.
There becomes a point where it becomes just natural. And you'll find that a lot in jiu-jitsu, where you'll get into a position and you just know, I don't put my hand there, I put my hand here. Right. I don't put my weight there, I put my weight here, because it's just data chunking. You've done it so many times that instinctually you just know, not that. Yeah. That's a bad thing to do.
Right. And you build that instinct because in the beginning, a lot of your natural instincts are incorrect.
Super wrong.
A lot of the things you would
so wrong.
Keep you safe or protect you are the actual things. As a professional, like jujitsu practitioner, you're like, I want that.
And that's the beauty of tapping, because you just die. And
you're
like, all right, let's not do that again.
It's like tapping the reset
I was
button.
just killed.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, a fascinating video. If you want, I won't take this over.
No,
absolutely,
bro, dude, you taking the ring? You had me at Alice Cooper.
Yes,
but when you're talking about this, like learning something new, there's a video online. Look up on YouTube. You at home can too. The bike you cannot ride, or the impossible bike, I think might be called. It's by the Learning Group or Smarter Every Day. Mm-hmm. This guy, I won't kind of spoil it, but the gist is he's a motivational speaker and he's kind of talking about life lessons and such.
Tony Robbins. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. He had some friends who were engineers and they played a trick. They made a trick bike where instead of the handlebars where you turn it and it goes like this, they put a gear in the middle.
Turn left,
so
it
when
goes
you go
right.
like that, it goes like that. And he goes, I was fascinated because even just pushing the pedal, you brace against the handlebar and it throws it out of balance.
Right.
And he goes through this process that you guys, especially with the moves that you're talking about, you might love watching this video because he talks through it and he goes, I was trying it and they were just kind of chuckling. And he's watching it. They filmed him doing it, trying to ride this bike. And he goes, at this point, you're watching it. He goes, I'm chuckling, but you might not lead on. I'm getting really frustrated.
Right.
He goes, at this point, I'm really frustrated because I think. And then he goes, I thought if I could think I would look at, and they show him doing the handlebars. Mm-hmm. He thought I could think my way through it.
Right.
If I could just and so then he has this key phrase that is awesome and it really helps me with students in golf where understand what they're going through and the frustration of a swing change where he goes, I got to a point where conceptualization does not make capability. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just because you understand it doesn't mean that you can do it right away.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And that's why I say, I'm like, you guys will probably understand that, but great video. He even goes, then he sets on a goal to actually learn how to ride it, takes a certain amount of time, documents it, then goes to the Netherlands, which is a bike riding, culture. Yeah. And he has the camera there where he asks someone, hey, can I ride your regular bike?
Right.
And people gather around because he cannot ride. They're like a grown man who cannot ride a bicycle. This is crazy. So, but anyway, great video for like talking about the mind and how it works because when you're trying new things, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're trying to something new, it's going to be uncomfortable. And you have to know how your mind works.
And that's another thing too, like just taking a part of what you're saying. Skating. Is you can absolutely do a move.
I did pretty good at ice skating
in training.
I would have died if Sierra wasn't there.
We went together. It was an experience.
It was good.
You did great.
Ava loved it.
You did great.
She didn't get off the ice the entire time. She found out what soreness was the next day.
My ankles were fucked when I did that. Oh my god, I was exposed.
Didn't tie your skates
so
tight
weak,
enough then.
so weak.
No, they're not supposed to be strong. You need to tie them tighter.
Maybe
you need to. You have to grab.
That
the
was the
laces,
one thing that
strangle it like you're. Yeah.
Right.
That was the one thing that I did know. You're supposed to tie your skates so tight that it basically hurts.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they're going to be too loose.
Yeah.
All right.
But I was surprised. I thought I was going to have a little more difficulty with it, but it was far more closer to inline skating
I see a lot of people
than I really
there
thought it would be.
Being from Wisconsin, I mean, that's a kind of a secondary thing. We just do it.
You come from the land of the ice and snow.
Right, exactly.
Midnight sun, hot springs,
Dude,
glow.
that song is so great. And beginning of
a little Led Zeppelin joke. I'm sorry.
I'll get it eventually.
What? Thor Ragnarok. You do? Okay, I was going to say. The immigrant song.
Yeah. Whoa. We're all equals here. No, so what I was saying was, when you train a move, it doesn't even matter. Like, you could do it 1,000 times, but there's also different degrees to it. There's a level of proficiency that you have to have in order to do that move in real time. Like, because you could be like fantastic at like doing this hip escape, doing this, you do it 1,000 times, you feel great. And then you get into a fight and you know that you could do the hip escape, But there's another element that's added there.
There's one thing to drill it. There's another thing to do it in real time.
Yeah, there's a hump to get over from the conscious thought of drilling it and then the actual use of it. And to get over that hump, you literally just have to suck with that move. Because you could drill it all day long, but there's a point where drilling no longer gains you anything because you already know the movement. Yeah. And now you have to make the movement locked in where you don't have to think about it.
Right. Yeah.
And to do that, you just have to do the move and just fail at it
and work at setting it up.
In.
Well, then you have to start playing moves ahead. Like you have to be able to set it up properly.
Well, and that one of my favorite scenes, and it's a weird thing. I do bring it up every once in a while.
Well,
for golf.
the Silver Kingdom podcast is the place for weird things.
Remember The Last Samurai?
Grimace butt plugs.
I love The Last Samurai.
Okay, The Last Samurai. Oddly enough, one of the DVDs we have at the house. So, but one of my favorite scenes is that's a very, in studying a lot, like Michael Jordan and top athletes, that they see everything happening.
No, she didn't say LeBron
happens.
James. You said Michael Jordan.
Who's that? Who's she?
Oh wow.
So
what about Larry Bird?
Oh, dude.
Hey, whoa.
Dude, he's the second greatest of all time.
Sure.
Wrong color.
So, but do you remember that scene? Have you guys seen that movie?
Last Samurai? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
You know the scene where he's slowly going like kind of, he's peering at everyone.
Yeah.
And then there's a fight going on in even slower motion than the slow motion.
In his head.
And then, like I said, he maps it out ahead of time. Sees clearly, but I think the key element that you're also missing is the calmness of the confidence that you're going to pull it off.
Correct.
If there's a bit of panic in your mind that you're not confident that you're going to pull it off, that's when you're flailing and like this. Versus if you clearly see and you go, even if I make a mistake, I know how to handle that mistake.
Yeah. The Japanese are really big on acceptance and
but that's
maintaining a sense of calm as you go into something.
And there's something to be said about that because
was that a Japanese director?
Yeah.
Was it?
There's an old Japanese.
I believe so.
There's an old Japanese proverb that says, "You go into battle and you fear death, and you will surely die."
Yeah.
If you go into battle and you accept that you may die, you will
Which is
surely
what
live.
made the Vikings so great because they took shrooms and went to war like fucking savage.
The Vikings just had an advantage of being big Nordic fucks.
And on acid. They figured out the loophole.
Well, that was just berserkers.
Yeah, I mean.
They would eat these mushrooms because they thought they could talk to the gods. And next thing you know, they're running in the battle naked with just an axe.
Do you
It's
remember
like, okay,
Band of Brothers?
don't fight that guy.
Remember in Band of Brothers where Lieutenant Spears was talking to that one guy and he basically says like, guys, you got to realize like all this stuff's going on, but he's like, you got to realize you're like already dead. As soon as you accept that, then you can function as a real soldier.
Yeah.
Like, so it's weird adaptation. It almost sounds like the first part,
Right.
which that was, I mean, he functioned as a real soldier, it seems like. From the stories, that was badass when it runs through the town.
Yeah.
And then he runs back.
Forrest Gump?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He did do a lot of running.
But, no, I mean, that's
Nobody ran like Forrest.
Legitimately.
But it's seeing things that, you know, ahead of time, anticipating, and the calmness of the mind to go. I do think that that's it, is like, even if something goes wrong, like even if your move doesn't work, that's something for me on the golf course that has worked, is when you feel like, oh my God, there's pressure on this shot, then the biggest key is to understand, actually, I tell you what, if I don't pull this one off, I'm confident enough I'll beat him on the next one.
Well,
and so if you try that and you know that you have the prowess, okay, I messed that up, but I
get it on the next
I go
one.
for my figure four,
right,
you know.
No, it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. When I train there's two things when training with newer people. One, you're most likely to get hurt with a newer person because they are flailing, they are panicking, they're using every single ounce of strength and every breath in their body to combat you with the very few things that they know. Right?
Gotta ride it out.
Wrong or right. And that's exactly what happens. You ride the wave. I'll let them attack me and feel like they've got you in this and they've got you in that, and then like there's a calmness to me the whole time, and then I'm just waiting for this and he's out of breath, he's done, or she's done, whatever, and you could start to maneuver and start doing things in such a calm way where like I've seen people quit jiu-jitsu first class, they come in, they feel the top pressure, somebody's just squeezing them, and they're like, this isn't for me, I'm out. They didn't even allow themselves to try to learn to adapt and find the calmness in your mind.
That's when I knew I wasn't gay.
Yeah, to find the calmness in your mind when you're involved in these kinds of
But
sports.
there almost is a level of, it feels like slow motion when you're going with someone and you're that much farther ahead of them.
Yes.
It's a weird thing because, like, when you're going with people every week, multiple times a week, everybody's moving forward. It might be at their pace, but everyone's moving forward. It's really is when someone new comes in that you're like, oh, I've improved so much. Because you can't, it's hard to judge that by when everybody's moving forward.
Right.
But once that new person is in there and you're like, oh man, they don't know a fucking thing.
Right.
This, like, it really is like this person, I have them all day long. It doesn't matter what they're doing. They might as well be moving like through molasses.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really is an odd sensation of like, no, your arm over here. Give me your neck.
It sounds like I guess that relates to. It sounds like that, obviously training, it's a learning environment.
Right.
Have you run into a problem as a, what do you call your sensei? No, not
Professors,
Professor.
coaches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So your professor, have you run in a
Sifu.
situation where like did you finish someone brand new off like really fast, not even on purpose? Or
Well,
do you have the responsibility and you know that
I personally
have
will
to have the
I
responsibility.
will never tap a white belt.
Correct.
Ever. I
Okay,
will
there you
never
go.
tap a white belt unless
is that something you've been told?
no.
It's just you.
No, there's higher belts. There's higher belts. That fucking
That will
murder white belts.
ragdoll people.
Yeah.
But
There are higher belts
I think
that
I've
do
heard
not
that
take
on
it
your
easy
podcast
at all.
before.
Yeah,
And I can think of a couple. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
rat
didn't
you
you
out.
mention then the professor will hop in and like smoke their asses? or
well,
something?
They'll put
there's
someone
something
against
called the
them.
gym
Yeah.
enforcer.
There's a gym
Yes.
enforcer.
Yeah.
and then you feel the body.
And then you feel
Yeah.
the pain. No, but
And
look,
you fucked up, and all of a
penetration.
sudden that person walks in front of you.
Yeah,
and
like
sits
if
down.
it's
That
like
happens.
a
And you're like,
purely
"Oh,
new
no."
person, I'm not looking to
ragdoll them.
Yeah, I'm looking to try to show them something. No, don't put your hand there. Do
Right.
this.
What a
I'm
great
trying
community,
to
though.
push
Yeah.
them in a
Yeah.
direction.
See, that's what like right now I'm teaching junior camp, and it's a lot. It's 13 kids, and I have an assistant, but they're not really. They do. If I'm like, hey, go check that kid's grip, and that it's what I tell them
Right.
to do. But 13 is a lot for one.
It is.
But that's an amazing community that if you can train and you are technically assisting. And you while
it's a
taking the class, you're
mentorship.
there to learn.
Yeah.
I just don't want
That's
to be the reason.
fantastic.
I don't want to be
What a
the
great
reason
culture.
that
Yeah.
this kid quit.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to beat this kid fucking 5
Yeah.
times in 6 minutes
Yeah.
and be like, he's like, oh, this
Well,
is
there's
for
something
me.
to not coddling someone too.
Some
There's
of
that-
it-
I won't call them.
it's a line.
I won't
Yeah.
call
Line
them.
you
I will.
walk.
I will push them to the limit.
Yeah.
I will
Some
make
of
them
it
fucking
comes
work.
to the person you're going against. Like, we got a lot of young wrestlers right now, and they want to go hard. So they won't. So every now and then they want to see like, no, don't hold back.
Okay.
And it's like, well, okay, every 30 seconds you're going to lose for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But they want to judge like, where am I at now? It's been a couple months. Where am I
Sure,
at
yeah.
now?
Yeah.
But the more advanced belts, it's kind of your job to pull the lesser belts forward. And it's also your chance to pick things to learn. So that's where you take the moves that you need to make more of an ability by, I still have to think about this, but this person is that much slower in their methodology. So I can think about this move and work through actually live doing it with someone while they're trying to learn something.
Right.
So you can, even though you're going with someone that's not as advanced, be teaching yourself something while teaching them something.
So that's
There-
fantastic.
there's different
Like,
ways
I
of
love that.
of looking at even
That's a culture, and that's
of
fantastic.
winning.
is.
Like
Not
you can
everybody
go,
adheres to it though.
You can go with a person like my.
But then I bet the pack would
It's-
rein that in.
It is.
If not
and
the lead-
it's
that-
it's
but
the
it comes
leader.
from leadership.
It's
That's
the
what I was
leader,
gonna
right?
say.
So whoever's your professor in the gym, that's
awesome.
When
They
you
set
go to
the tone.
different
Whoever
gyms,
leader, great
yeah,
job. Hey,
yeah. When you
leader.
go to when you go to different
That's
gyms,
great.
you have to gauge. You have to see where everybody's at, how everybody's treating each other, what kind of a community you're involved with.
Some places are competition gyms.
Right. And
where
if you go
it's-
into a gym
Yep.
where their competition, it's sharks. They just want to eat everybody in the room.
Everybody on the mat gets eaten.
Question: Have you been in a situation where you have a new person coming up and they want to test their skills after a few months? Have you been in a situation where you were shocked that they were able to do? Oops.
Yeah.
Shoot. Okay, it's still good.
Yeah.
Have you- where they surprised you? Where God.
Oh yeah, because people learn at different levels. And
White belt
different
George?
speeds. And white belt George. Here's a
Is
specimen.
he still a white belt?
No, it's a specimen of a human being.
Glass Joe is always
no.
Imagine like
he was a
fighting
white belt, but he
Brock
was
Lesnar.
Yeah, he was one of the physically strongest fucking people ever, and he was just a white belt.
There was a time when I was
He
trying
was
to do
beating
an
people
arm
with
bar.
he was
and
beating
he
people
took my
with
whole
pro
body.
wrestling moves.
Bro, yeah.
It was so fucking stupid.
200 pounds on one arm. I had my whole body pulling it back, and he's just like.
He curled his arm out of it. Yeah.
I mean, I've never felt strength like that in my entire life.
When you're
He was a white belt, but he was the most dangerous fucking person for the first 2 minutes. Until he got tired. You were in fucking trouble and
Yep.
you were playing defense.
Well, I was gonna say if you had any bit of that flailing and not knowing the.
I didn't flail with him.
That could be,
Yeah, but
no.
Oh
I'm
my
saying
God.
like, where he might not be aware of.
He can
how much
easily
he could,
break something.
If
He
he caught it-
easily break
If
something.
he caught it, he broke it.
Oh yeah,
If he caught it, he broke it.
Did
It
your
was-
leader talk to him about that?
he did
ahead of time, right?
And you know what? And
That's a good leader. There
and
you go.
to this guy's credit, he understood exactly how strong he was.
Who's your leader? Why don't we pump this guy?
Well, that was at the time George Santiago
Okay.
at
At
Excel Jiu-Jitsu. My current professor is
yeah,
Kelly at Tharos Jiu-Jitsu, which her gym, it's a fantastic community of people, a lot of newer students, and she takes pride in making it a very family-friendly jiu-jitsu environment.
You were telling me about that.
And also shout out to Fernando Rodriguez.
Fernando Rodriguez,
That's
where
where
Eddie
I
trains.
go. Yep.
Yeah. So, like, we've all trained at multiple
There's
places.
white belt George with his gi soaked in his opponent's blood.
Listen, that man was a legit beast.
He was so goddamn strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about when you're actually
That's his opponent's
when you
blood
go
over his
serious for a round. Some people
He looks so disappointed to even raise this guy. He's just like,
it's like I could have done better.
Yeah.
I coached
no,
him.
the guy raising
I didn't
his hand
smash
is just
him
like,
enough.
Yeah.
I
just
coached
don't wanna do
George
this
that
wrong.
match. I coached George that match, and he beat his opponent like 16-0. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. There was the guy had nothing for him.
Yeah, there's a different gear when
Super heavyweight, by
when
the
you're
way.
going serious for a match. And some people when they go serious, they actually go way better than when they're just kind of training. And some people when they try to go serious, they actually do worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all dependent on the person. Some people are, they'll dominate in the class every day. But when it comes time to perform in front of a crowd for a tournament, they crumble.
They're known as gym warriors.
And then there's some people who, when they're in front of a crowd, it means nothing to them.
Yeah.
And they do just as good as they do, if not better, in the class.
Yeah.
And
People-
some of that's
some-
just mentality.
Some people don't like the lights.
Yeah.
They just don't like it for some reason.
no, that's I've seen that in golf a lot. I mean, same thing. They're just amazing practice players.
George beat Dan the one time with a torture rack. With Lex Luger's torture rack.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We showed him the fucking like where you grab the collar and you sit through
For the fireman's
and
carry.
grab their leg and then you pull
No.
down here and here.
Oh yeah.
But George did it to Dan.
Oh, yeah.
who I'm not going to shout out Dan because
No.
of recent
Because
events.
he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, but anyway, so he grabs a hold of Dan, shoots under and grabs, but he doesn't start there. You're supposed to sit through and pull down. George fucking stands up with Dan's over his shoulder and just starts like lat pulling down, but he can't get it first, so he's pulsing. Yeah, he's fucking pulsing with this man on his shoulder like this, who's gagging and fucking drooling. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm like. And finally, Dan taps and falls to the ground, and he looks at me. And he looks at me and goes, "Yeah, he just fucking beat me with the torture rack."
What the hell?
And I was like, "Dude, I think he beat you with Lex Luger's torture rack."
Yeah.
I think he
I'm
just
picturing
did.
like Ace Ventura with a, you like that, Dan? Laces out, Dan.
No, he murdered him. He
Yeah.
murdered
Do we
him.
have? Can we put up footage of? Does anyone have pictures
wish.
of said torture rack?
I'm sure you'll find
or
a
can
way
we
to
put
do
the?
the torture
Can we
rack.
put the Lex?
I can put a
Luger
picture of
chat-
torture
there
rack.
you go.
Yeah. It was.
Can we?
It was,
Can we splice in a picture?
was
of
something to
Dan's
see.
on his face?
yeah.
That's great.
What was crazy is when you would go for like something where you thought you had him, you dead to rights, and he would power out of it.
Yeah.
And like I remember I had him in a fucking Kimura lock, and that's my thing.
Yep.
And I'm trying to crank his shoulder, and then he just starts to straighten his arm. And it was like I was hanging onto a piece of like fucking farm equipment. I was like, how? It's like I was like, both of my arms and all my body is trying to get this guy in this lock, and he's just straightening his
And look,
arm. I'm
and
like,
that's-
how are you
Something
this
to be
fucking
said
strong?
because
How?
Ian is extremely strong.
I'm missing a few
Extremely
chromosomes.
strong. No,
But this guy was like, this guy was like, I couldn't fucking believe it. Like I was literally trying to finish him. I'm a higher belt. He was powering out of it, and I could not explain it. I was like, you are just exponentially stronger than me.
Yeah, there are some physical specimens out there that are the exception to the rule, right?
And he was like 250 pounds at like 6% body fat. He was horrifying.
Like not a single ounce of fat. I would say
he was just horrifying to look at.
We called him Colossus. The first day we were like, Colossus, this man is made out of steel.
I wanted to see what belt he was because he just like walked in and sat down in like this really tight shirt, and I was like, what is that? Like, tell me that's not purple. Like, I'm not rolling with him. I'm not rolling with that guy. So when I saw a white belt, I at least had a ray of hope. I was like, okay. Like,
and then it gets extinguished.
So I got a question for you because I actually want to learn more about this, jiu-jitsu and fighting techniques. I want to start with my area of expertise and say, look, golf is kind of interesting because there's your physical body, and then there's the knowledge of the game.
Correct.
That takes a lifetime to gain. And one of my favorite players from Wisconsin is named Steve Stricker. He's now on the Champions Tour, on the Senior Tour. He's 50 years old. But he when I was in college and early on the mini tours, he was popping back and forth. He would make it to the PGA Tour and then fall off the tour. And then he'd be in our state, like I would play in the local Wisconsin State Open against a guy, and then he'd make again to the tour, but he was always just never really staying there until like it was his like late 30s, where suddenly he got to the second best in the world at one point. He was behind Tiger Woods. Wow. Just game took off. He was winning consistently, and the key phrase that he said. Well, because Tiger changed the game so much because of his physicality. I mean,
Tiger could bench over 300 pounds.
He could hit shots.
Really strong.
Oh, there's mental toughness there. I got plenty of stories, but the key was he goes. They asked him about his success and how he reached it, and he goes, "I stopped trying." He said, "I stopped trying to hit shots that other people can hit, and I started just figuring out shots that I could hit."
Exactly.
And in a way, by other people, he means Tiger Woods.
Sure, right. Sure.
So then the question that I want to kind of spin that around to say, he's late 30s, and I know a little bit about your history in fighting and that you fought in these, full strike tournaments.
Amateur MMA.
Amateur MMA, and then got to the point where, and I know there was a loss that you felt like you won. You told me about a long time ago. Sorry, don't cry. Don't cry. I'm sorry.
I've actually found clips of that fight on YouTube.
We've sat over a couple beers.
Combat Judo MMA site. I actually found it, and I was like, oof, that still kind of stings.
Right. Right. Of course.
Okay, so now 15 years ago, I'm still not past that.
What my question is, because the way golf is, okay, my body is on the way down. I'm 42 years old now.
Right.
You look great.
Thank you. But so I'm fit, but I was stronger and more flexible at 27, as you probably should have been.
Like most humans are.
Yes, correct. But I'm confident right now that I could beat me in a match at 27 right now.
Right.
At the game of golf.
Sure.
Okay.
Can you say the same?
Are you saying would I beat 21 year or
would you not or is your physical prowess at 21 outweigh your knowledge of fighting? Would
in an actual fight?
Yes.
In an actual fight, 22-year-old me would beat the shit out of me now.
Oh, really?
In an actual fight, physically strong. Physically strong. I'm physically stronger now. But like 21-year-old me had a shaved head. And
there's something to be said about that.
All he was doing was training. Like all I was doing was striking.
But with your knowledge of it, wouldn't you look at yourself at that 22 and go, this guy's probably going to do this, and he doesn't know shit about shit, and I'm going to counter this, and he's going to get exhausted.
I have an unfair advantage of knowing about that. But if I like met him, and I didn't know anything about him.
No. I'm talking about like if it was a tournament, you studied your opponent, and you were like, I am who I am now, and that is who he's younger version of me.
I am physically stronger, so I want to say that I could probably like surprise and defeat my younger self. Yeah. But I don't know. My younger self is a very angry kid. So
I feel the opposite. I feel like even though like I have some injuries now, I feel like I can absolutely kick shit out of my younger self.
What if your younger self just dove for your knee?
Well, my good knee.
Obviously, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about like again with the older one where. the younger one doesn't have the advantage of knowing the.
I'm a better lover now.
I'm not saying if you know, you're like, my plan of attack was always to go right for the knee because blah, 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 and I'm making this up. But I'm saying if you were,
I would bet
without that
on
knowledge,
my older self now because of my knowledge.
That's cool.
Because of my understanding and my skill set versus what I knew then.
What about you at 23, Ed, versus you now?
I'd say the same thing. I was much stronger then because all I did was the gym.
And powerlift?
Powerlifting. I was.
Or were you training?
At a 1,200-pound total.
Jesus Christ.
No, he wasn't training.
Wow.
So I wasn't training.
So you were strong though.
Yeah. So between the bench,
deadlift, and squat.
you
1,200 pounds. That's pretty good. That's pretty fucking good.
For me, it'd be like bench, deadlift, squat, shoulder press, blah, blah, blah. If you add them all up, maybe after a week, I'd get up to 1,200 pounds. Okay.
So I'm with you.
So I was much stronger then, but fight-wise, no. I destroyed myself.
That's, I'll tell you what. Okay. And that's a technique.
But 30's the new 20, you know?
You know, technique.
And that's fine too. Is like we may reinvestigate that. It'd be interesting to ask the same question 10 years from now.
There's a curve where it drops off because
do you know where
technique will trump athleticism and strength.
Glover Teixeira,
but only until a point. At a certain point,
captured the belt at 42.
At a certain point, if they have some technique also. You know, that strength and athleticism applied to that technique.
Real quick, sorry.
Pushes them farther.
Romero.
Yes.
Are we talking about a jiu-jitsu tournament or are we talking about a fight?
I was in full-on fight.
Whether you're speaking on a full-on fight or jiu-jitsu, it's essentially the same. So
you would say the same. Okay.
So athleticism and everything, it does add on to what you can do. But
headbutts.
At the end of the day, technique does eventually trump it. But at a certain point, you know, the older you get and the less you have versus.
Could you outfuck your younger self?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I think so too. I feel bad. I feel good. I feel pretty good right now.
No, I would definitely say like there is a like when we're in the gym. And as a purple belt, if I'm coming up against another purple belt who's like 30, 40 pounds heavier than me, I have to approach that fight much differently than I would somebody my size or smaller. I have a much higher confidence level against somebody my size or smaller. A bigger guy, I still have confidence in my ability.
So you're betting on Musk. All right, got
it. Communism.
I don't know.
But there would be a different approach. Like even like there's a different approach to how I'm training my jiu-jitsu now. I was training at gyms where it was just like go to war, go to war, go to war, go to war. Now I'm kind of taking a little bit more of a backseat to that and more of enjoying the jiu-jitsu for what it is, training a little slower, training to my age. I had to learn to slow down. Like not every fight needs to be a war.
Yeah, but wouldn't you then say that you're like
maturing in the fight?
You're more learning the art versus
Correct.
Fighting through it and doing the physicality of it.
Correct. But I will say that there is still an enjoyment to the physicality of it.
I mean, I guess we're talking about like learning learning how to rebuild an engine by rebuilding an engine or reading a book about it. You can do both.
Right. No, absolutely.
And the second way doesn't necessarily mean that you can't learn how to rebuild an engine by reading the pages.
And the older you get, you start to build up injuries. So it's like when I had to get back into it with my injured knee, I kind of had to reevaluate what I can and can't do now. And so I had to learn by failing with different techniques in order to develop a new game. Because in the beginning, I had a bad shoulder, so I developed a game to protect my shoulder and fight. Right. Now it's like my knee, so it's like now it's more about protecting the knee and learning how to fight a different
Monty
way.
Python.
Yeah, exactly. You know, 1, 2, 3,
but 4, a scratch.
Yeah.
But a scratch.
But you learn to adapt, which is what I do love about jiu-jitsu. There's so many techniques and so many workarounds that you can still have a really fun, a really good, productive training session and really good, hard, intense fights and protect yourself in a way that you're less likely to get injured. That's different. And you just hit them with the old wrist lock.
You just throw them through a table, apparently.
A power bomb. Yes, that is exactly it.
Or some bitch-ass ninja choke.
Thank you for joining us at the Sofa Kingdom podcast. You can find us on all your social media platforms at
Sofa Kingdom OFC
and on YouTube,
Sofa Kingdom Podcast.
where you can apparently find Ian's video.
It's somewhere out there. It's in the dark web.
I'm sure I got videos of me somewhere too, man. You're not alone,
Yeah.
bro. I'm with you.
I made some videos to get through college. So.
I mean, those are different kinds of videos.
Hey, real quick before this ends, Kindly Crooks are playing this weekend at Swampgrass Willie's this Friday, July 7th, 6 till 9. And then we are playing at Das Beer Garden in Abacoa and Jupiter, 7 to 10.
Very
check
nice.
us out.
Go out there,
Go
buy
check
some
them out.
beers, tip your bartender, check
Hell
him
yeah.
out.
Always.
Check him out.
And Matt loves it when you pat his ass.
Yeah.
Does.
Repeatedly.
Walk-
I have no
walk-
Make
defense
eye
against that.
contact. Make eye contact in the bathroom by the urinal, especially.
You know the one.
You know the
You know the one.
Don't worry. And if you miss me, my number's on the stall.
Right next to Eddie's.
And cue the music.